Let's start with the Super Bowl favorites, the Buffalo Bills.
The first reason here is obvious, and it is Josh Allen.
Our goal is to win the Super Bowl, as is 31 other teams. Pressure is a privilege, and having that sense of urgency, I think that's a good thing.
Are you sick of talking about the Kansas City game?
What game?
Are you sick about talking about the Kansas City game?
Which one's that one? I want guys to know that, I care about this team. I care about winning football games, and ultimately, that's all I care about.
Josh, I think where I want to start with you is kind of the expectations. You guys are opening on Thursday night against the Rams. A lot of people Super Bowl pick. How do you think the challenge changes for you guys in the locker room where, we've been building for a few years now, and now a lot's being expected of all of you?
Well, I think at the end of the day, it's about us going out there and just trying to win football games and preparing each week, not putting too much pressure on ourselves. And again, our goal is to win the Super Bowl, as is 31 other teams throughout training camp, just trying to get better and be the best versions of ourselves, building the team camaraderie. Because last year we've obviously returned quite a few guys that were here, kind of hit a lull mid-season, and found a way to start crawling back and winning some football games. So ultimately our goal is to start fast, have the playoff caliber mindset, which Coach McDermott always preaches, and just take it week by week.
How does adding somebody like Vaughn add to that too? Because I would think, to some degree, and I guess maybe the win now thing's a little cliche, but I think it gets everybody's attention when you bring in somebody like that who's in the back end of his career, who has rings. Is there a different sense of urgency, do you think, that adds, and is that good for the group?
For sure. Pressure is a privilege, and having that sense of urgency, I think that's a good thing. And just kicking guys into gear. We know we got to start fast and find ways to win football games. Last year, lost too many one-score games, so working on that, just understanding situational football better. Taking it day by day and ultimately week by week throughout the season. But make no mistake. We've got high expectations here, and we hold ourselves to a very high standard. And that's set from our front office down to our coaching staff, to our players and our leaders, and that'll never change.
When you look at your tape from last year, what do you see?
There was some good, there was some bad. Obviously, some things to learn from. Making sure my eyes are in the right place. Sometimes bad throws will happen, but we can't have the bad decisions. So, trying to eliminate those interceptions, those fumbles, where it was just like a head scratcher. And I think that's going to clean up a lot of things and give ourselves obviously more chances at scoring touchdowns and winning football games.
How do you tighten that up? Because obviously, when you were younger, I think you're looking at probably more big picture things, and now you're looking at tying up details. You mentioned turnovers, holding onto the ball, that sort of stuff. This time of year, how are you working on that?
Yeah, I think understanding and owning situational football. When and when not to hold on to the ball, when to throw it away, when to try to go get a first down and stay in bounds and maybe take a hit, or find ways to get down or get out of bounds. I think that understanding and owning our offensive playbook and our system, and understanding what Coach Dorsey's trying to call when he calls a certain play. So we've got to be, one and the same. Me and Dorsey does or do. When I got to be an extension of him when I'm on the field. So developing that relationship with him, because obviously he's a new play caller for us, and he's been in the room with me for 3 years. So the relationship that we have is pretty special, and we're going to continue to grow.
How much does that change? How much do you think about all right, the guy who was in my ear, for the first 4 years of my career isn't there anymore, and how much do you and Ken have to work on that over the 6 weeks that you got in front of you before the?
Yeah, like anything, you got to work at it. It's going to take some reps, but in terms of hearing the voice and being comfortable with what he's calling, I've got supreme faith in him. Being in the same room for 3 years, and like I said, having that relationship that I do with him is going to pay dividends when we're on the field on Sundays, Mondays, or Thursdays. And, like I said, I got supreme faith and trust, and he's going to be great for us, and I really do believe that.
You guys is there stuff creatively you guys can do to kind of, get on the same page, out of practice today? Is there stuff that you're able to do where it's okay, I'm going to work through the process of having that new guy in my ear, and going through what he likes, what I like. How creatively can you kind of get yourselves up to speed before the opener?
Yeah, I think even more so. And when he was in the quarterback room, obviously we talked about a lot of different things conceptually, and had very open-ended discussions about certain plays and what we like, what we don't like. So I've been in his ear for a long time, letting him know what's good, what's bad for me. And obviously some quarterbacks are different. They're going to like different things. But in terms of knowing me, I think he's got a step ahead of anybody because we've been in the same room for 3 years and we've developed that relationship and we've had those talks. So again, I'm excited to see, come game time, how that works out. But, his voice in my ear, it sounds good. He's doing a good job in practice. He gets fired up. That's what we love about him.
Caught ball first out of the 50, outside the numbers 40, to the 30-yard line, to the 25. It's Perriman, Bashaud Perriman, touchdown Tampa Bay, Bucs win in overtime.
I had a couple people out there tell me that the Tampa game, like something changed for you, and that I don't know if it's like taking more control. You can probably describe it to me better than I can, but was there something that happened in that Tampa game that maybe represented you taking another step as a pro football player?
At halftime, obviously down, I think we were down 28-3, and storming back and making a game of it. But I think maybe being a little bit more vocal, just putting my head down and not worrying about the results and just working on trying to make the right decision. And there was one play I ran in for a touchdown on the far side of the field, and I threw the ball straight into the wall and just kind of let my frustrations go. But after that, tried to be as cool and calm as possible. And I think that having that mindset of being, like I said, calm under pressure suits me well, and just trying to get back to that and let everything kind of fall into place.
Is that something like for a quarterback? I would assume there's probably a process involved, right? Like you come in as a rookie and you don't want to overstep your bounds, and do you feel like that was a step you took last year where maybe, I guess you took more ownership of the team, and then in situations like that where you're down, you feel like they need you to say something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the team needs that from you.
Yeah, and I think that's the projected growth that they had for me when they drafted me. Not being as polished as I was and trying to learn and grow in the game of football and as a quarterback. The first thing I tried to do was just show guys on the team how much I cared by playing as hard as I did and going the extra mile and jumping over people and putting my shoulder down just because I wanted to show how much I love the game, how much I want to win football games. And then, just like you said, the natural progression of kind of becoming now the more vocal leader and taking ownership of the offense and the team, and just trying to set us on a good trajectory and ultimately trying to be the example for what we're trying to do here in Buffalo.
So how much different your role now than maybe it was 3 or 4 years ago? Like when you go out there to a training camp practice or you're in the locker room, and I'm not even talking about game day, but how different is kind of the role that you play for, I guess this time of your 89 teammates during the season, your 52 teammates than it was a couple of years ago?
Yeah, I want guys to know that, I care about this team. I care about winning football games, and ultimately that's all I care about. And how I show that, how I spread my love around the team, in the locker room, trying to be loose, try to be funny, in times when we need to be funny, and trying to not be as serious when we need to be serious, because this is a game at the end of the day. We're supposed to have fun playing this game, and obviously when you're winning, it's a lot more fun, but just trying to find ways to bring guys along to enjoy and love this game as much as I do. And then in terms of on the field stuff, understanding, helping some of these younger guys come up, telling them what I see from them, what I need to see from them in certain route concepts and certain run plays, and just understanding that if they have questions, they can ask me and I can give them the exact answer that they need.
Are you sick of talking about the Kansas City game?
What game?
Are you sick about talking about the Kansas City game?
Which one's that one?
What sort of impact did it have on you? Because obviously it's something that everybody's been talking about for 6 months. I think the world would say that you played really well. Obviously Patrick played really well. What sort of impact did that have? Did that night have on you?
Well, at the end of the day, we lost the game, and whether we lost by, I think it was 6 or by 1 or by 50, we didn't get the job done. So just trying to use that and understand that can fuel us going forward. And, we got to find a way at the end of the day, and we didn't, but we'll learn from it and we'll grow, and it's water under the bridge now, and there's nothing we can do about it, but move forward.
Does it kind of also kind of show how small the margins are in the NFL? How, and you mentioned tying up little things, how every little thing matters, especially, and you look at the AFC now. I mean, you'll probably be playing against Patrick for a long time. Lamar Jackson, Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow. There's a lot of you guys that are right in that age range that could be playing against each other for a decade. I guess in a way maybe that game shows how small the margins are going to be going forward, right? Like
Yeah,
how hard it's going to be to win.
It's tough to win in this league. So when you do, you gotta enjoy it. But then next week you got another tough opponent coming. So it is what it is. Like you said, there is a lot of guys in this league now that are really good football players, and we got to find a way.
Have you gone back and watched it, or do you avoid watching it?
I avoid it. It pops up on the Twitter feed every once in a while, and just try to scroll past it. But there's no running from it. It is what it is.
Where do you think, when we turn on the TV in the beginning of September and you guys are in LA playing against the Rams, where do you think we'll all see a better Josh Allen than what we saw the first 5 years?
Yeah, just better decision making, not throwing the ball up in places where they don't need to be. I think ball placement on some of our runaway routes, slants, unders, in cuts, to give guys more opportunity for rack. And then obviously just faster processing of our defense, of what I'm seeing, and get to the right guy as quickly as possible.
That's a balance though, isn't it? Because you're the playmaking ability, obviously, and you mentioned the Tampa game where you're running around, you're making plays, and you're showing everybody how much you care and playing with intensity. Like, that's got to be a balance for you too, right? Like, where I still want to do that stuff. I still want to be that
Correct.
threat, but like I know I can't do it all the time.
Yeah, I think sometimes it is necessary. Sometimes we call play in hopes of, like, if it's not there, make something happen. But if we can do it the easy way, I guess the quote-unquote easy way, I'd rather do that, take some hits off of my lifespan, and let the guys that are smaller and quicker and faster than I am have the ball in their hands.
So it's like taking layups, basically, instead of always shooting threes.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know if I can go in for a handshake. Is that okay?
Nope. Appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Josh.
Oh, Peter.